everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sports. I'm about to be joined by Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press. Together, we are Kenny and Renny. This is the Kenny and Renny post-game after the kind of post-game show after the kind of game that makes me see there. Was that so hard? Was it so hard to expect a game like that out of a team that's first in the NHL? So hard to expect them to get more than 4 shots to a period or opportunistic their way into winning a game? Is it too much to ask for the number one team in the NHL to go out and have a game where they put their stamp on it, say, this is who we are, this is what we're capable of, this is what we're going to do, we're going to impose our will on this night? Because that's what they did. They went out and they did that. How much better does that feel? I know some of you have this weird perversion where you love these games where they don't try, but they pull it out at the last second. I get it. I don't know why. I get that you like it. I don't know why, but this to me is what you should be looking for in a top team in the NHL. They get a challenge coming in from another top team in the NHL, a team whose number they have had, but the last time they played them, they won their game because their goaltender stood on his head, had one of the statistically best games we've seen in the NHL this year. Connor Hellebuyck gets the shutout on this night. Connor Hellebuyck plays well, but by no means was he required to steal this game. His team puts him in a great spot. The Jets just go out and absolutely dominate on this night. There's no question. Like, the Minnesota Wild aren't walking away saying, oh, well, we got goalied, but we'll get them next time. Like, this is the kind of win I take a look at and think, like, they will have challenged the Minnesota Wild's belief system after this game. Now, maybe the Wild's belief system was a little bit challenged already because they had just lost to the Oilers, they had just lost to the Florida Panthers, and they had just lost to the Utah Hockey Club. It's probably a little bit of a tricky thing when you think of yourself as being one of the best teams in the NHL, and then you go and you face in 4 games 3 of the best teams in the NHL, and does not go your way in any way. Yeah, I would say the Minnesota Wild have their belief system challenged at this moment, but that's what you want the Winnipeg Jets to do. That's what they were doing earlier in the year. If you remember, I don't know why I'm talking like this, like I've got marbles in my mouth. I apologize for that. I swear to you, I have not been into the holiday libations. I'm just rushing my way in here and had a quick bite to eat before I came on the show. But this is what you want to see from the Winnipeg Jets. This is what you should be expecting to see from the Winnipeg Jets. Not every night, right? I don't expect the Winnipeg Jets to be absolutely top of their game on every single night, but I don't expect them to go wide swaths of coming nowhere near showing their game. I think the Jets should be able to get to a game like this fairly frequently. And I like the way that they did it on this one. It's an interesting one. I was doing a game with the Ottawa Senators earlier this year, and Travis Green had said to his hockey team, I want you to go out and win a 2-1 hockey game. And they went out and they won a 2-1 hockey game. And afterwards had this really interesting conversation with him where he said, you're always trying to trick. You're always trying to fool your team. And how he did it that night was like when you asked for that kind of game specifically, rather than him harping on them being defensive and focusing on their checking and their systems and all of these kind of things, he said, here's the result. I want you to just focus on the result and then go out and kind of push to like do what you need to do to get that result. And they did that. I thought that this was a real smart thing for Scott Arniel to say before this game. He talked about these slow starts that the Jets had been having, and they'd been having a lot of them. 2 in the previous games. We've seen it happening for a lot of games before that. Going way back to the game, excuse me, again, going way back to the game against the Minnesota Wild. He said before the game, and I love this. I love the way he handled this as a coach. He said, I want to have the kind of game that challenges the belief of the opposition, that makes them doubt, that creates doubt, right? You start out in a game, the two of you drop the puck, and all of a sudden 6 minutes in, you don't really get to touch the puck. The other team is rolling on you. Maybe they've got a goal quick and early, and all of a sudden you're thinking, geez, we thought we could run with these guys. Maybe we couldn't. I thought that Scott Arniel tricked the Winnipeg Jets tonight into abandoning those terrible starts that they've been having trick them into just focusing on the idea of like, yeah, wouldn't it be nice? Let's just go out and make these guys lose hope. Let's go out and show these guys early on that they can't really hang with us. I thought that happened at the beginning of the game. I thought it continued throughout the entirety of the game. I thought every time the Minnesota Wild tried to show a flash of like, okay, maybe we could push our way back into this game, the Winnipeg Jets just put their foot right back on their throat and held them down. Kirill Kaprizov, who has been only held off the score sheet 6 times so far this season. He's 6 times. Yes, 6 times. 3 times against the Winnipeg Jets. 3 other teams have been able to do that to him, and that's it. The Winnipeg Jets have held a Hart Trophy considered person off of the score sheet for 3 straight games. Love the way that they handled that. Love the way they responded to their head coach. Love the fact that he created a challenge without making it an obvious challenge. This, to me, just all around from the coaching, from the goaltending, from the defensive structure, from the offense, from the fact that you finally got something out of your depth scoring, to me, is the exact response you would want from that previous game, which was a stinker. And the previous game before that, which was the same game, the Jets may have won it. It was still a stinker that they played. This is a bounce back game that the Jets needed. I think they get this feeling. It puts them in a good spot going into Toronto. And if they can continue that on, I think this is one of these things where, despite the fact that as of right now, since their first 16 games of the season, the Winnipeg Jets and their 19 games since are at a 500 level, I think that this is the kind of win that if you can add to it on Tuesday, you basically bury any bad feelings you've had or loss of confidence from these last 19 games, and you come out of the Christmas break and you just feel refreshed. You feel like you're back to being that team that you were before. Because to me, the Winnipeg Jets looked like the team that we saw at the beginning of the year when they started the season 15-1. That's my take on the whole thing. Time to bring in the man with the best music in the business. For his take on the whole thing, folks, here comes Kenny. Ken Wiebe looking good, as he always does, because that's what Ken Wiebe does. He looks good. I'll bring him into the show so you can get a look at what I'm looking at here. But I got to do everything. You can't let yourself in the show. Ken wants me to get up out of my seat, walk to the door, and open the door for him to come into the studio. That's his home studio. But when you look like this, you can get away with that kind of stuff. When you look like a VIP,
social media easy now.
You get VIP treatment when you look like a VIP. And if you want to look like VIP and get the VIP treatment, you know what to do. Head on down to Corden Avenue, walk into Vittorio Rossi, loudly proclaim Kenny and Renny sent you. Ask for Frankie and the boys, and they will have you looking like the kind of guy who will get guys like me standing up in the middle of my work and my own job to open the door to let you into where you want to go. Ken, I have a feeling you like this game here tonight. I'm going to let you take it away. There's a big buffet full of steaming different things out there. What'd you take away from that game?
Yeah, certainly a lot different than what we had seen in the last couple efforts, for sure. Jets with a complete effort, which is what they had needed. They hadn't had one in a while, for my taste, Sean, and your taste as well, I would say. All the things that we talked about going into the game: secondary scoring, better structure, solid net minding, though not overly tested. Special teams. I mean, if you're Scott O'Neill, your checklist was filled with blue ink today, is what I would say, is what I would see from them. Dominant effort. We did not see the Wild push back very much in this game, which, if you're John Hines, yes, we know it was a back-to-back, and the Jets took advantage of a scheduling advantage. The wildest thing for me today, Sean, no pun intended, where's Marcus Foligno, Sean? Like, this is the kind of game that in a blowout game, Marcus Foligno is wearing out the end boards because he tries to hammer someone. I didn't see a whole lot from the Wild overall today. Kaprizov kind of off his game from the beginning. I don't know what he was doing, chasing after Dylan DeMello after a nothing burger hit at the blue line. I thought that was bizarre. It should have been an extra minor penalty as well for Kaprizov. He's lucky it wasn't. But overall, the Jets were sound. I mean, penalty kill, very good. 5 opportunities against. Their power play was excellent. Had 2 goals. Should have had almost had a third. They have a goal that scored 6 seconds after Spurgeon was on the ice, but he was a defenseman playing forward, and they were still kind of discombobulated. But overall, solid win. I mean, again, you're not going to go crazy because it's game 35, but if you're the Minnesota Wild, Sean, and you know that you've been beaten twice already this year by the Jets, you were swept last year and had lost 7 in a row going in, you would think you would have offered a little bit more resistance. But I also would say the Jets this was one of the first times in a while that they imposed their will in this game.
Totally.
Not in a period, not in 5 shifts, for the majority of 60 minutes. So for me, this is much more of a template type of win. Again, I'm not going to go crazy because it was a more tired Wild team because they were on a back-to-back. But much like we said the other day, I mean, the Jets had a back-to-back with a 1-hour flight. Same with the Wild. I mean, they played Friday night, but they flew an hour. They got to Winnipeg. Again, not a good effort from them, but the Jets took away any of their belief. Scott O'Neill talked about it in the morning, Sean. We were there. They talked about the need for a strong start, and not only did they have a strong start, but they pushed the Wild down and they didn't let them back up at all. So I would say they got a lot accomplished in this game, and for them to feel even better about themselves, Sean, as they continue to sit in first place in the Central Division, if they can do that against or something resembling that template. I'm not saying they have to shut out the Leafs 5-0. But this is a team that's given them trouble the last little while, as Cole Perfetti pointed out in his post-game address. So Jets haven't played well against the Leafs, and if they, Leafs are a contender, no matter what people want to say about them. They're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. They've beaten the Jets already this year, and it's a good test for the Jets. If they can go into the break with 50 or 51 points, I'd say that would be a pretty impressive. I mean, it's going to be an impressive accomplishment no matter what happens on Monday. But it is an opportunity for them to beat another really good team and to continue to kind of build on what they had today.
So I want to build on what you had to say as well. And I am given like the major props. Like, we can say what we want. I wasn't going to hold all the what I think was, quite frankly, BS takes of people who are trying to talk about that Anaheim game and say the Jets were tired and poor this and poor that. I expected better from the Jets. I wasn't giving an excuse having to do with that, the same as I won't for the Minnesota Wild here tonight. But the thing that I like about this game is that the Jets left no doubt. Like, if no one is sitting here tonight saying that Anaheim is tired and Winnipeg's not a very good team. Sorry, not Anaheim. That the Minnesota is tired and not a very good team. They're saying, yeah, maybe Minnesota was a little tired, but I'm kind of glad I didn't see them tired, because I'm a little scared of what the Winnipeg Jets would have exposed about my hockey team here tonight. Like, the Winnipeg Jets, you imagine the Winnipeg Jets in the third period. I was thinking this during the broadcast. There's maybe one game where we've seen a team do this. What happened tonight to the Minnesota Wild, maybe we could say that happened to the Winnipeg Jets that night that they played the Florida Panthers, that first kind of wake-up call game. But beyond that, even if you talk about that Toronto Maple Leafs game where they went down early, you had that late push from the Winnipeg Jets. Like, there was life. They left themselves belief by the time that game was over. This was robbing the Minnesota Wild of relief, because the Jets made a statement tonight, I thought, that said, I don't care your situation. I don't care what you play when you played. I don't care who's injured. I don't care who's here. I don't care that you have a guy who's supposed to be one of the front runners for the Hart Trophy. We are taking everything away from you on this night. We will give you nothing. You will have no hope when this is done. You will not have anything to lean on and say, well, at least we did this. You won't be able to say, well, this guy had a good game or whatever. The Winnipeg Jets just took it away from the Minnesota Wild on this night over and over. And I don't hang that on someone being a little tired. I don't hang it even on the idea that that's their fourth straight loss. And the Minnesota Wild are clearly at their lowest point of the season right now and had been at the lowest point of their season coming into this game. What you can ask the Winnipeg Jets to do, they did on this night. They took control of everything they could possibly take control of, and they slayed it on this night. I take a look at this game, and it may be my favorite game of the season that the Winnipeg Jets have played. If I'm looking for a team to show me the kind of things that I want to see from a top team, this is it on this night. So there's nothing for me. Hey, if it had been close or 4-3, or even if the Jets had like given up like a whole bunch of shots or whatever, it just, the Jets at every turn of this game turned on the Minnesota Wild and said, you're not getting this, not on this night. You could not handle that game better if you're the Winnipeg Jets.
For sure. I'm going to qualify. The reason why I'm not going crazy is that, I mean, the Wild are missing their starting goalie, their best centerman, and, one of their most physical defensemen, which is, again, you can't control who the other team has in their lineup. The Jets took all belief away in the game, and they deserve 100% credit for that. But I just don't think it was it's not a full lineup, but you're not going to see a full lineup very often. I just think it's worth noting. I mean, Eriksson Ek is a bit of a, he's their version of Lowry, but, with maybe a little bit more offensive upside, even though
he also cost them the last game that they played against the Jets.
No, it wasn't Eriksson Ek who got
it was Eriksson Ek and Yakov Trenin. We did it in our show open tonight.
Oh, definitely Trenin was. Yeah, he was.
It was both of them. It was both of them. It's why there was an odd man rush. Two guys went after one guy. I know what you're saying. Dylan.
Again, I'm not taking anything
right now. Nick Ehlers,
of course,
he's not yet up to speed. He's not what we saw from Nick Ehlers before that. Like, everyone's kind of dinged up. 3 guys missing from the lineup. Yeah. Fine, I get it, but it's not enough for me to take.
Again, I'm not taking anything away. I mean, this is their best game. If they can play like this with a little bit more regularity over this stretch, that will put them in good stead. This already put them in good stead. They went into the game wanting a better start. They got it. They went into the game. Scott O'Neill talking about yesterday. It's an opportunity. The Wild win this game outright on a clean sheet. They're 3 back with a game in hand. Instead, they're 5 back with 1 game in hand, and they lost the season series. And again, Dylan DeMello didn't think there's much stock in the season series, but what it means is that they can't make up any of those ground in 4-point games because they have no more 4-point games with the Jets. So I think it was very important for the Jets to clear the decks and win the 3rd game here. And again, do I think this game in December means something if they meet in the 1st or the 2nd round? No, but what it does mean is that the Jets know they can play to their template against a Minnesota Wild team that at one point had passed them and now is 5 points behind them. So I'm impressed by everything the Jets did today. There's no doubt about it. Sean, we'll back it up with the numbers. I mean, the Jets in the first period, 7 high danger chances at 5-on-5. They gave up 1. They gave up 4 high danger chances in the game. It's one of their best defensive efforts of the year. And it's probably, I'm not sure it's close. Yes, they have 4 shutouts, and they were pretty good in all those shutouts. Expected goals against, again, we don't put a ton of stock into expected goals. 1.07. I mean, it's a dominant and suffocating defensive effort. And it's also an impressive effort because the Jets needed to have a game where they could give the top night the night off. I'm not saying they took the night off, but they didn't have to carry them.
No. And it had been going into that game, 18 of their 29 previous goals they'd scored had one of those 3 guys contributing to that goal, and 2 of the goals that they didn't score were empty net goals. So they were carrying over 66% of the load, which is, I mean, I'm sure some, I don't know, maybe Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are up to those numbers, but that's not, I don't think that's sustainable. So it was good to get that going. We got a big surprise for everybody coming on here. John Garrett, who did color on the game and who's been wanting to get on the Renny and Kenny show for a long time now, renamed by John, who knows a little. So he's been in the hockey game for a long time. I think we should listen to him. We're going to bring him in, but I just first wanted to give the Pristine Roofing wake-up call to all the folks who saw me on the Jets check-in earlier on. I gave the definitive argument of why Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, Ken, and it goes like this. Christmas movies have a lesson. They have a message. The Grinch, his heart grows 3 sizes because he realizes Christmas is not about, the materialism. Home Alone, they learned in that he didn't like his family. Well, their family was coming. The parents learned that you don't leave your kids alone for like 3 days at Christmas time, right? There's no lesson in Die Hard. It's not a Christmas movie. There's not any kind of thing you come away with that. I'd said it before. The lesson from Die Hard is you don't mess with Bruce Willis, and you don't mess with Bruce Willis 365 days a year. It's not just Christmas as well. So that's the Pristine Roofing wake-up call for all those people who are bringing that trash into our chat room, and that means it's time to give North End Rick the Pristine Roofing wake-up call at 204-981-6289. He's the guy you want at your place for all your roofing, siding, and exterior needs. And you can also call Pristine Roofing directly at 204-237-7663. They'll take care of everything that you need, and you'll be happy that they did. All right, time to bring John Garrett into the game here. And we're going to bring him in hot because there was a little bit of a challenge in the morning meeting with the coach, I thought, because Scott Arniel was I don't know if he was calling out your style, the double pad stack roll he was talking
Hey, that
about.
was a compliment, Sean. Come on,
Yes,
man.
I think it was.
Total compliment.
It was.
I think it was.
Ken, let me stir up some controversy here, Ken. Stay out of the way here.
Hey, I protect our guests, all right?
I love that we got to I've had a lot of fun with you, John, since we've been on broadcast together, because Rick Bonus, we got to play, I think it was the video of him scoring a goal on you. He scored a goal on you once. Was really happy about that.
That was a rarity for sure.
No, well, for sure.
Rick scoring
yes.
any goal against anybody was a rarity. Come on.
But I want to defend John and say that in the end, out of 10 games played against Scott Arniel and his Winnipeg Jets, every one of those 10 games you with the Vancouver Canucks, you had 6 wins, 3 losses, and 1 tie.
Yeah,
so you did pretty good for yourself. I think really the big dog in the room today was John Garrett, not Scott Arniel.
Well, thank you. Well, I thought you asking about whether Connor Hellebuck tried harder against the better teams. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm an old goalie here, and he's saying that you can pick and choose which team you're going to play better against. Oh, I wish I could have done that. Oh, I'm going to play better against Chicago. Oh, they're pretty good right now. Oh, yeah. But I'll play lousy against Anaheim or somebody. But no. And every goalie goes out there, every game, you just don't want to embarrass yourself. You want to play well. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. You realize that when you're playing a good team, chances are you're going to have to face a lot better chances. The expected goals, Kenny, here's another one. The expected goals. My expected save percentage was .950. It never happened. But they expect Garrett to stop that one? And there's no chance that he's going to stop that one. But who's judging the expected goals? Hey. I mean, there's so many stupid stats out there now. And John Hines before the game. And Kenny, I know you weren't there for it, but he was talking about, the Minnesota Wild, our expected goals are number 1 in the league. Well, okay, you're expected. Why aren't you number 1 in the league? Why aren't you in the top 5? Well, but my expected goals, who's judging that? Your mother sitting at home or something? Oh, yeah, a Minnesota Wild fan is sitting there. Oh, yeah, their expected goals. They should have scored on that one. That was a shot from the red line. Oh, that should have gone in. That's an expected goal? Come on. It's just, there's so many of those now. Expected goals, expected saves. The
saves above expected, yeah.
The goalie is making 80 saves above expected. Well, he's supposed to stop that one, and like the guy tonight, Jesper Wallstedt, he wasn't very good. I thought 3 of the goals he should have had, but he made some great saves. He made some expected saves, but he let in 3 expected saves that I thought he should have had. So, you go on stats, and it always looks good. And you hire 3 extra guys in your staff to keep track of these stats, and then what happens? You lose 5-0, and it's back-to-back games. Kaprizov played like 25 minutes last night. That first goal was a perfect example. Was it the first goal or the second goal?
Second.
But anyway, the one where Kaprizov came back on Iafallo.
Yeah.
He'd been out there for a minute 30. He played 6.5 minutes in the first period. He got into a little bit of a scrap. He was so involved. He was tired. He ran out of gas, and Iafallo goes by him. And Kaprizov can't catch IFL in a straight if they're both fresh, and yet it ends up the Jets score back-to-back games. And you look around the league, and the team's tired, and they're understaffed now. Eriksson Ek's out, and Middleton's out, and you got this goalie that. But at 5-0, the Jets were really good, and I think that's the best game that I've seen Perfetti play. And I thought Heinola was very good, confident, moved the puck, a couple of great outlet passes, and I thought that the Jets were really good. Nemestikov was really good, and Scotty Arniel he's such a good coach, and especially at home, he gets to match up, and he's got the Lowry line out there against Kaprizov, so they know that it's going to be a tough night, and especially on a back-to-back night. Niederreiter is a big body and gets involved, and I thought the Jets were really good in this game, but Minnesota, I don't think it's flat as, and Sean, you were there when we said, well, how do you stop the Jets power play? Well, stay up to the penalty box. They didn't do a very good job.
No doubt. Before we move on, Ken, I want to just point out a couple of things. One of my challenges in working with John in the last couple of years has been that usually people don't point out my dumb questions, but John won't let them slide. He won't let them slide.
What kind of question was that? Oh, yeah. Oh,
now, hold on. Hold on.
You've never played goal. Sean, you've never played goal before in your life.
No. He's played every other position.
Oh, yeah. I try harder against this team. Yeah,
hey, hold on. Hold on a second. I'm going to say this because I've heard it on broadcast a million times before, and I've heard you on broadcast a million times before. I've never heard you say this, but we always hear about certain goaltenders or certain players elevating in certain situations. Are you saying that doesn't exist, that Connor Hellebuyck would not elevate in certain situations?
He is at every game he plays. I'll guarantee you his preparation and his mindset going into every game he plays is exactly the same. It's at that level. He's above everybody else, but does he elevate it for certain games? No. And I think, and just this is my opinion, is that when it gets to the playoffs, I think that's one of his problems, is that he thinks he has to elevate it instead of just, okay, you go out and play just the way you played all season long. And you guys remember Dan Kluche.
Yes.
And Dan was a good goalie, not a great goalie, but he was a good goalie. And during the regular season, he was absolutely fine. And that the Canucks at the time when Dan was there, especially his last couple of years, they were a very good team. Bertuzzi and the West Coast Express, all that kind of stuff. And every time he got to the playoffs, it was the same thing. Oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. They win the first two games in Detroit, and I got to be better. I got to be, we're going home. We're ahead 2-0 against this Detroit Red Wings team that's really good. He lets in a shot from center against Nick Lidstrom, and you sit there and you say, okay. And it's the mental part where, and with me, that's Connor Hellebuyck. Is every game he plays, he's at that level, and I think he gets to the playoffs, and then. Oh, well, now it's the playoffs, and he doesn't have to be that much better. He's the best in the league. He doesn't have to be that much better. But it's hard to get that mindset that you convince yourself that, okay, now this is where it really matters. That now, okay, it's just, I have to go out there and play as well as I always do every game.
I'm just going to say one last thing in my defense. You're saying dumb question for me asking if he elevates, but you're saying at the same time that Connor Hellebuyck thinks he needs to elevate his game in the playoffs. How am I supposed to know that if he doesn't know to not do that?
Well, it's the pressure. And you ask any goaltender, the guy that played tonight, and part of his problem why he hasn't been in the NHL, and he had a great American League season last year, is he said, He goes, I just get into my own head. And how many goalies are like that they just, and why do they have 3 goalie coaches on every team? And why is Wade so good? Why is Wade Flaherty so good? Mm-hmm. Is because he convinces the guys. And you look at the goalies who have come through when Wade's been here. And every goalie that comes through here is better. Brossoit and Eric Comrie and everybody that comes through here is better because of Wade. And Connor is the best in the league during the regular season, and I think that's one of the things. And how do you gear it in for the playoffs? I don't know, and I'm sure Wade has tried every year to get Connor to just, okay, here's how you play. You played this well all year. Just keep it in your own bailiwick here, and just play the same way you played all year. Instead of, and if you have that one bad game, if you have that one bad period, and you're in the playoffs, then all of a sudden it goes away. Your belief in yourself.
Right.
Jim Bedard. You remember Jim Bedard, the goalie coach of the Detroit Red Wings?
Detroit, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And he convinced guys like Chris Osgood. And I like Chris Osgood. He's a good goalie. But was he great? No. But Jim Bedard convinced him that he could have a playoff run and win a Stanley Cup. The guy in Chicago that was no good that won a Stanley Cup. The Finnish guy, and I forget who it was.
Niemi.
They beat Philly. Yeah.
Niemi.
Antti Niemi. Yeah. Antti Niemi. And you convince him that he's good enough to win a Stanley Cup. And I think that Wade he's got Connor Hellebuyck as the elite guy in the league. There's no doubt in my mind that Connor Hellebuyck is the best goalie in the league. And now you just have to carry it into the playoffs and calm down. And you remember Rick Tabaracci. And I forget.
Jets legend.
Yeah, and forget who the goalie coach was with Rick Tabaracci, but a guy with glasses and used to always wear gloves. I forget who it was. But anyway, the great late Don Whitman and I were doing a playoff series at Winnipeg and Vancouver, and we were only seen in Winnipeg and Vancouver and Kenora. We had T-shirts made up, seen only in Kenora. And the Jets were ahead 3-1. And all they had to do was convince Tabby that, okay, you just be good. You don't have to be great, just be good. And he wasn't good. he folded in the game, the 5th game, and then it was just the Canucks ended up beating the Jets when they shouldn't have. And just because Tabby couldn't get his mental part of the game back.
Just before we move on, Ken, because I know you're going to want to ask John a question here, I'm going to say something. Dumb questions are like cold takes. And so that means I'm getting an invite to my own hot tub here tonight, because we all know there's no such thing as a cold take in an Arctic Spa's hot tub, especially one like mine with the Spa Boy package. So if you need to work on your question asking skills, especially if you've got the kind of coworker who is not afraid to call it out in front of everybody in the moment, you know what to do. Head on down to Arctic Spas, talk to our boy Dustin down there. He will set you up with the kind of hot tub that does everything just shy of being Ken's hot tub time machine out there.
Well,
Ken,
you want to know,
Sorry,
calling you out. How can Die Hard not be a Christmas movie?
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
You say something, and here it is. Alan Rickman, that was his big break. And if you're a Harry Potter fan, you know who I'm talking about, Alan Rickman. He's a great actor. But
I know him as the Sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yes. Bruce Willis and the family and good conquers evil. And come on, and you're talking about you feel good after the movie's over because it's a Christmas movie. Well, okay. This is Die Hard at its best. And how did they? Die Hard did get stupid when he was jumping on the planes off the freeway and stuff like that. But the first Die Hard movie was definitely a Christmas movie.
Incredible.
Listen, there's lessons to be learned in that movie, but none of them relate to the season.
Oh, well, the wife and the family and everything. Come on.
Don't give me your come on.
Okay,
Don't
this is coming off the rails
All
here.
right,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
it is off the rails.
Come
You,
on.
Just a minute.
bring us
Ken,
back to hockey.
You're the deciding vote, Ken. Come on, jump in here. Agree with me. Agree with me, Ken. We've known each other forever. Agree with me. Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Oh boy!
Abstain here. We want to keep the people engaged. Sorry, was this question in the post-game interview as you were waiting for Hellebuyck, Sean?
What's
or when
that?
this happened?
What's that? No,
question
it was.
John
I was
like.
talking with. You're bringing it back to my dumb question,
Sorry,
which
I just
don't
want to get
think
some
was dumb.
context. I just want to
But
get some context.
No,
I
it was
asked
before
Scott
that.
Arneal, and before he could
Okay,
answer
sorry.
the question, I got called out. John halted it. I got sidelined. If there would have been a dunce cap and a stool in the corner, he would
It
have
was in
sent
the
me over
morning,
to
Ken. It was in the morning
Okay,
when you
okay,
were
okay.
still as bad and the rest of us were working.
Oh, hey, I was
It
at the
in
rink, buddy. Come on,
morning.
don't. I was there. Come on, you remember
Yes,
I
you
was
were
there.
Yes, you were there. I mean,
Listen,
I'm
but
trying to throw
Ken-
you under the bus, but you
Ken,
were there.
before you ask your question, I'm going to say this: the only way that Die Hard would have been a Christmas movie is if another bald man would have pulled off the role, and that would be Sweet Lou. He's the only one with the machismo to make that a Christmas movie, and that means it's time for you to give Sweet Lou a shout out there, Ken.
Yeah, for folks who have realty needs you'd like to have met during the holiday season and every other time of the season, contact Lou Ferlin at Royal LePage Dynamic Realty, 204-791-9971, or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@louferlin.ca. That's LOU@LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Ferlin, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of the community, including this podcast.
Ken, the guest has run roughshod over me. I'm leaving
Yes, I
it to
have.
you to
Ken,
get him back on
Ken,
track.
I said you weren't there in the morning, and we were talking about Tim Campbell this morning, and I did give Tim Campbell a call in the afternoon. He was talking about sweeping off his driveway, and it got too cold. He had to go in because the wind was coming from the north, and I was sweeping the driveway, and it was too cold.
Hey, it's winter here. It's winter.
Yes,
John,
is.
so we've been talking a lot lately about the impact of Dylan Samberg being out of the lineup. So as a goaltender, when a top four defenseman goes out and guys sort of get slotted into heavier minutes, what does that mean for your own personal play, or do you not worry about guys trying to step up and fill those roles?
Well, it takes a while to read, and I think that's the thing is you get so used to guys that play the 20 minutes a game, the defensemen. You know exactly what they're going to do when you're steering the rebounds, and when you're talking to them when they're coming back to get the puck. You stop it behind the net. You know where to leave it, and you know the things, and it just takes a while to get used to. And I think that's the thing that is most when guys come in, substitute for regular defensemen or even regular forwards, especially centermen. You get used to how the guys take the draws and where they're going to go with it, and you sit back there and it takes a little while. Game, it doesn't matter practices. It's game only, where it takes a while to read what they're going to do.
And then what are the benefits for those guys when they slide back into a third pairing role? So say for Hayden Fleury, I mean, he's been a depth defenseman the last couple of years. He gets this stretch of time where he's playing 20 minutes a game. What are some of the benefits for him when he moves back into his kind of more regular role on the third pairing when Dylan Samberg comes back conceivably early in the new year?
Well, it's easier for the goaltender, but you watch him play now. And when you get to play you go from that 15-minute slot to the 20-minute slot, your confidence, and you know that the next time somebody goes down, and they always do, somebody gets hit with a shot or somebody gets hurt, that you can do it. And I think that's where Fleury is now, is that he realizes that, okay, he's next in line. And I think that's one of the things that the forwards, like I thought Gustafsson tonight, in limited time, I thought he was pretty good. And you get things like that, and you say, okay, he's a guy that he can believe in himself and he can play on that line. And when Adam Lowry went out, and we never did see, I know Sean, I buzzed down to the truck to see if we could find it. They had something on the post game from Toronto but you couldn't really see that he got hit or hurt or he wasn't limping or anything going off. I don't know how our investigative reporter Kermit the Frog never found out what was the matter with Adam Lowry.
Well, Scott Arneal said post-game that it was minor and he would be fine, but it looked like he was laboring a bit going to the bench. I couldn't really tell. But it was strange because it was in the offensive zone. So
somebody told me it was his hand. Yeah, it was behind the net.
For me, I thought maybe it was more of his back, John. Like he took his hand out of the glove, but I think it was more to like reach I had a
Oh.
kind of like either hip flexor or sort of that sort of idea. But anyways,
or like me, you slept wrong and your back.
Yeah,
is,
well,
oh man,
Adam's pretty durable. I'm counting.
oh,
I'm counting on
man.
him to play on Monday, based on the information we have. I think, but
That'll be a zoo in Toronto. That's the usual.
This is
Yeah,
my
let's
favorite
go to
audience
Toronto.
comment.
The big smoke. Who cares about how they played the other night? Yeah, they're playing against the Leafs. Although the Leafs were pretty stinky tonight.
and no morning skate on Monday, John. So it'll be a little calmer
Yes,
than
they
normal.
were.
It'll be a little calmer.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah,
Everyone will be worried about Austin
so far on the show.
Eric, you're released to
says
John
Garrett
Garrett.
saved K&R Christmas. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to ask this one. I know, John, you and I have done some Senators games this year. We've had some conversations with Travis Green, who's a really open guy. He had a fun one a little while back where his team, and since it happened, they've been on a roll. But before that, he was having a hard time getting his team to play defense. So he went out and he challenged them. He said, I want you guys to play a 2-1 game tonight. And they went out and they won 2-1. And then the next game, he said, I want you to do it again. And they went out and they won 3-1. And what he said to us afterwards was, he said, as a coach, you're always trying to trick your team, right? So rather than me harping on them and saying, you play defense, you stand in this spot here, he basically got them to focus on the outcome. And then as they tried to pursue that outcome, they just kind of fell in and did all the right things. So I was wondering if you thought it was something similar. When we talked with Scott Arniel today, he's had a hard time getting the Jets to kind of come out with a compete in the first periods of games. It's been a problem for them, off and on for about 3 weeks now. When I heard him say earlier today that he said, I want us to come out and have the kind of game where you challenge the belief of your opposition in that opening. I wonder if you see that as being something similar, a coach's way of, rather than saying, guys, I need you to start on time, I need you to do this. If you get them thinking the challenge is go out and steal the hope away from that team right off the bat, does that just kind of get you to flow into having the start to the game that's been eluding you for so long?
Well, and especially after the 2 games that the Jets played on the road. I mean, you got the Mums trip and they're long and everybody's excited, and really they didn't play well in either game, and they beat San Jose. The power play was really good again, and then they go into Anaheim and weren't very good at all in that one, and could have lost by more, and yet they were in a position to win that one too. It was 2-1 with 5 minutes left. They could have won that one too, and then what does the coach do? But because they lost, then it's easier for the coach to come in and say, oh, okay, let's get back. But you look at their first 10 games, and you look at how every game they set the tone. And I think that's what Scott was really saying was, okay, we're at home. We played a couple of bad games. This team played last night. Let's set the tone. Let's go out and play like we did in the first 10 games. And I think that's what the Jets did. And you look at who scored and up and down the lineup, and everybody was good. And I think that's the trademark of the Jets now. Is Kenny and Renny a Christmas movie? What is that? I don't think anybody feels warm and fuzzy watching you two guys. You two guys aren't a Christmas movie. Come on. What is that?
They do.
I had a Christmas tie tonight, and I gave Sean I had an extra Christmas tie, and I was thinking, Harner Ryan, they don't even celebrate Christmas. How can I give Harner Ryan my Christmas tie?
Well, he had one. He had one.
No, he didn't have a Christmas tie. It was a red one, but they don't celebrate Christmas. Come on,
it was close.
You're a religious student. You're a well-educated
I'm not.
guy. They don't celebrate Christmas.
John,
Other things. It's a festival, but and it's not really a festival. It's more of a downtime. It's almost like Lent.
Okay.
In the Sikh religion at Christmas time, but
there we go.
I'm educating you guys too much here.
There we are. Yes. John, happy to report John Shannon would like to cast a vote in your favor for Die Hard. So
yes, thank you.
Who asked him? Who asked him?
Hey, he's
John,
listening, Sean.
He's
listening. Means
Who
he's
asked
listening.
you, John?
He's obviously watching the Renny and Kenny show.
Exactly.
I've invited him to come on at some point here. Good news. Good news.
You're up,
sure, John. So, a guy like Morgan Barron, hard worker.
Yeah.
11 goals last year. He's only had 2 goals into an empty net this year so far. What does a goal like that mean for a guy like him? Where, again, he said and joked, and this is the beauty of Morgan Barron, great personality. Mike McIntyre, my colleague from the Free Press, asked him about, had your teammates been giving you the gears? He said, no, everyone's been pretty polite until you. But, for him to get a goal at 5-on-5, yes, it is an empty net in some ways. Wallstead makes a great save, doesn't know where it is. He finds it. What can that do for a player in terms of not squeezing the stick? Because Barron's still getting chances, but today he snaps a 15-game goal drought, and now that fourth line chips in another 5-on-5 goal. They hadn't had one since November 25th, almost an entire month.
Yeah. Well, and the forecheck, and he's a big guy, and I think that's one of the identity. And teams around the league, look at Detroit. What's their identity? I mean, the good teams have an identity, and the Jets have an identity. They're a big, strong team that forechecks hard, punishes the defense, and creates turnover. And I think that's what Morgan Barron did on that play, and he's rewarded. And I think that, well, it wasn't the forecheck on that one. It was a 2-on-1, but they get involved right away. And it's nice to see that those guys, and the way the Jets were playing, all four lines were involved. It's unlike the Minnesota Wild that got behind, and then, Kaprizov is out there again, well over 20 minutes. And even though he spent 4 minutes in the penalty box, how he didn't get an instigator penalty. And I know that's what Scott was going crazy on the bench about was, and it was Marco Rossi's my size. He's 5'8" and 108. He weighs 20 pounds less than me. I should be 6 feet with my weight, but Marco Rossi's a little guy, and DeMello just stood him up. It wasn't a dirty hit. He just stood him up, had his head down, stood him up. And Kaprizov, well, okay, I know the team's struggling, and you're going to jump in on that play. And there should have been an instigator penalty, but that's a star player. And I get a certain degree of game management, and you don't want to get Kaprizov off for 7 minutes. But to me, that should have been an instigator penalty.
If you don't want to go in this direction, just say, and we can continue going on the Jets. But with all that news that came out about what's happening in Vancouver right now, and maybe you're not up to date on it, you spent so much time there, though, a lot of the people who are involved in this. What's your takeaway? If you're okay with sharing it, we can go in another direction. What's your takeaway of kind of what's unfolding in Vancouver right now? Because that update from Elliott in the second period was like about as bombastic an update as I can remember happening on that show.
Well, to me, it's Vancouver's a not unique situation, but Toronto might be the same. Montreal's probably close by, where there's so many media people involved, and there's so many now with the newspaper industry. There's not as many guys like that. There's podcasts, and every practice is covered. And if you have words with another guy, what team was it that were Nashville that had that little pushing, shoving thing?
Yeah,
before we were there for
Evangelista and McCarron.
Yeah. I mean, that happens all the time. And yet now, and in Vancouver, they make a deal. You never called somebody a jerk that you worked with?
I've done it to Ken 3 times on this show today.
I mean, and the teams I played on, there'd be a fight every other week. There'd be a fight in practice. And you rolled with the punches, and after usually had a lunch after, and everything would be forgotten. And but the thing is, now there's every hint or every like Rick Tocchet stands behind the bench and he gives Nils Höglander a little look after a bad defensive play. Well, then that's the big story for the next day is, and then Höglander's a healthy scratch 2 or 3 nights later, and it's and I can read the Bruce Boudreau say they had issues. Well, a lot of teammates have issues, and the elite players. There's you don't think Philip Forsberg and Steven Stamkos in Nashville? You don't think Forsberg has some issues with Stamkos coming in and taking some of his power play time, and you don't think he resents that, and especially with the start that Stamkos had? He might not say anything, But if he did say anything, then well, they don't get along. I mean, it's just human nature that there's 25 guys around every day, and you're not going to get along with everybody. And it's a
Yeah.
physical sport. You're banging each other, and then the coaches have, well, we're going to have a battle drill. We're going to play in front of the net, especially if you're losing. We're going to have a battle drill, and then the sticks get up, and somebody pushes somebody the wrong way, and all of a sudden you got to fight in practice. Does that create, the guy hates each other? You're playing on the same team and you're working for the same goal, but I think that's been blown way out of proportion.
Okay, good end to that.
Shifting back to the Jets, John, I mean, how would you describe the leadership of Adam Lowry? I mean, I know you're not around the day-to-day, but the games you've seen, he's a lead-by-example guy who also has a voice. I mean, how important was that for the Jets in this transition of leadership since Rick took over and Adam being named captain and now in his second year on the job?
I thought he looked like Dave on that breakaway in the first period.
Tough ice out there. Puck rolled on him.
Nobody would get it. If I said it on the broadcast, nobody would get it. It looked like his dad on that breakaway. They beat it to death and backhanded it into the corner. But his dad was the same way. I played with Dave when Dave was just coming out of junior, and right. I knew that he would be a captain of a team sometime in his career, and you could just see it. He is such a leader, such a good guy, and cared about his teammates. And Adam's the same way, and I can see a lot of Dave and Adam. And unfortunately, Dave was thrust into the poor situation with the Jets and really had no chance to succeed. And
yep.
I think that hurt Dave's career. But Dave, he's such a good coach, and so I mean, he can coach as long as he wants, but he might not be a head coach someplace because he got the label here. Well, you know, you came with the Jets and you weren't able to do it. And look at Scotty Arniel after the Columbus deal. It took him a while again, and look what he's doing now. He's a great coach, and I think that's. If Dave gets another chance, I'm sure he'll prove to be a great coach too. But Adam, like you say, Adam is the perfect guy. Does everything you ask, doesn't demand to play more minutes or anything like that, and it just goes about his job. And off the ice, same way. He's the perfect guy in the, if you want to call it a transition. I wouldn't say it's a transition, but he is the guy to be the captain.
I'm just going to ask this quick one before we get into some of our business here. But this was one that stung the Jets last year. I don't know if you remember this report, but someone in their division, a player, had come out on a podcast and suggested that the Jets were frauds. It was questions were asked about it to the Jets last season. They kind of handled it, and then the playoffs come around, and it almost was, the tough part about that for the Jets was they go out the way they did, and it almost confirmed what that player was saying. So one of our viewers wants to ask, do you think that the Jets are frauds?
No, I don't. And like, to me, it's when you play a certain system and you play and you pile up a whole bunch of points and you think that you're going to be okay in the playoffs, and the system that you're playing is not conducive to playoff hockey. And I think that's one of the things is Jets, especially under Scotty, are playing a playoff hockey style. You get all four lines involved. You get all six defensemen involved. You get the defensemen involved in the rush. You got great goaltending. You're strong up the middle. You're great on faceoffs. Like, to me, the Jets are legitimate contenders. And when you talk about frauds, it's the teams that every now and then you say, oh, they look soft. Well, you never say that about the Jets. And I think that's one of the things is they're not frauds. They're the real thing. And I think they've been the real thing. I think they've run up against teams that are just, at that time, the other teams are more geared to the playoffs. And if you get, it's a 4 out of 7 series. If you get 1 or 2 games down, then you're screwed.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to transition to some business here. We do a couple of things here where the first one we call it is called the Johnston Group Got You Covered Play of the Game. So Ken will go to kind of show you first, but what we're looking for is kind of plays in the game that are like the unheralded, like that really good back check or the stick lift at the right time, or that guy who dives and Matthew Tkachuk stealing the puck off the line kind of thing. Ken, do you have any ideas of your Johnston Group Got You Covered Play of the game?
Yeah, I love the poke check by Connor Hellebuck, and John will appreciate it as a goaltender. Sorry, the Kaprizov's trying to find Rossi backdoor on the power play.
Found him.
But the puck didn't get there because Connor Hellebuck made sure it did not land on his stick for a backdoor tap in. So there were a couple good ones in the game, but that's the one that I'm going with.
Anything stand out to you, John?
Yeah, I like that one too, Ken. And I got to know Rolly Melanson very well when he was the goalie coach for the Canucks and Roberto Luongo. And he believed that you never turned your stick to the backhand. And I always said, well, hey, Rolly, if you read it well and that puck's coming across, and Connor is so good at reading the plays. And Rolly's theory was that if the pass goes through, at least you're square, you got your stick down and everything, you're going to be there to make the save anyway. But why should you have to be diving across to make the save when you read the play well, like Connor did, and just tip it? And I thought that was great. There was a couple other ones that I thought Kyle Connor defensively is everybody talks about his offense, but he had one shift in the third period, and you're protecting the shutout more than anything else. And where he came back and he's in the slot and they try and make that pass across and he's there to intercept it and
knock the puck out of the air on that play.
And he's in position all the time. And to me, that would be an unheralded play of the game.
No doubt. I had Nick Ehlers on one of those shorthanded 2-on-1s where he negated it because he came back with that speed. And to John's point, when you get speedsters and offensive guys who we think of as offensive guys coming out and making like these standout defensive plays, you're looking like the kind of team that is fully bought in, fully invested, and fully willing to do what it takes to win. That's our Johnston Group. 3 different ones. Johnston Group got you covered plays of the game. And hey, do you run a small business in Canada? Look to Canada's #1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more. That brings us to our keg, #the keg save of the game. What do you got, Ken?
Yeah, I've been waiting all night and practicing here. It is the last second save on Murat Huznut Ev. John, how'd I do on that one?
That's good. That's good. I'll take that one. That was very good. I like that.
That's the same player that rang it off the crossbar, correct?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
yes.
that is the same guy that rang it off the crossbar.
He actually showed well towards the end of the game. I thought he was one of those guys.
Where they were using Brendan Gaunce and Devin Shore, and
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's that time of the night. You're saying, okay, well, might as well get these guys some playing time. I'll go with that. That's our #the keg save of the game. Doesn't matter what we think or even what John thinks. It matters what you at home think. Share with us your #the keg save of the game. You're automatically entered to win a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg. Each location finer than the last. And the winner of our keg save of the game, that would be Craig Zamzow. Craig Zamzow, you know what to do. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Give me your full name, which I know is Craig Zamzow. Give me your email, and I will have the fine folks at the keg send you a $50 gift certificate.
Have you ever had any better nachos than at the keg?
Well, I would defer to you.
The keg nachos.
But you put ketchup on your nachos, don't you, John?
No. That's one.
Are you sure?
I don't put ketchup because it's got the good salsa and the sour cream and stuff, and I do spill salsa all over myself when I have the keg nachos, but they are very good. But you have to have them in house. You can't don't be traveling the keg nachos.
Yes, not that. Well, you can't travel nachos. They congeal.
Yes,
no, you can't. They congeal. They're terrible. You have to have nachos hot. Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
See, look at you. Your instinct was to go against me, and then you finally came to my way of thinking.
But you can heat them up when you get home, but they're not the same. You have to have them live. You're right.
I don't know about you, John. Okay, anyways, we're moving on to our TCB, Trans-Canada Brewing Company, Lamplighter of the game, the goal of the game. Let's start with you, John. Was there one that stood out most to you?
Oh, the Pionk blast from the point. That to me was, and I still think Iafallo might have tipped it.
He did he not? Didn't we show that he tipped that one?
We showed it, but he didn't get credit for it. So, but it didn't change direction very much. And I watched it in between periods, and I thought, well, he might have got it, but that was just a blast. It was 92 or 93 miles an hour. The one timer, they set it up. I like the difference in and I really think this is a big advantage for the Jets, is having the B group complete different strategy than the A group. And that's, I think, and give Scott Arniel credit for when the score was 3-0 or 4-0, starting with the B group.
Yeah.
And that's a sign to John Hines and the Minnesota Wild. Okay, we're not going to pile on.
Yeah.
And I like the Pionk goal. That would be mine of the day.
Ken?
Yeah, for me, Sean, in the warm-up in our newsletter today, I talked about the need for the fourth line to get going. So I'm going to have to go with the Barron goal. It's an easy goal for him, but I'm giving him the credit for the great cross-ice pass. He waited till the perfect time on the 2-on-1, and he made a great cross-ice pass. Iafallo got great wood on it. Wallstad made a great save, but it just was laying there. I'm giving Morgan Barron extra credit for not ending up behind the net, John. He put the brakes on and went and found it.
How can you say it's a great save when a butterfly goalie slides over and lets it squeak through the pads because you don't have your legs on the ice? How can that be a great save?
I'm giving him credit for getting in the way on the 2-on-1.
You let that little trickly garbage go through. That's not a great save. Fair. And then Barron's there to pop it in. And Barron going to the net. I mean, you're there in case there is a rebound, and he got it.
Yeah. Equal opportunity bashing, Sean. He likes this.
I was going to say, you see what I go through,
John?
Ken?
He won't let us
away with anything.
What a great save that was. Yeah, well, but it's in the crease, and the guy can put it in the empty net. What a great save that was. And that was an expected save that he didn't expect to have it go through, and it goes through. Oh, man.
Okay, John, I'm saying that could have been a...
Let me see if I can get past. It was a good
shot, and
let me see if I can get past John's BS meter. My lamp.
And sorry, I'm also giving it to Barron because he went 15 without a goal and hadn't scored a goalie this year.
You don't need to explain yourself, Ken.
I do apparently.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, let me see if I can pass the sniff test of John's here. I'm going with the Nikolai Ehlers goal because I would suggest that play where he's got it down and he does that really wide swoop with his stick. It's a forehand, but it's almost like a backhand play because you kind of can't really gauge when he's going to release the puck. So what he does is he takes it and it looks like he starts like he's going to go to the slot. Then it looks like he's going to go cross crease. And all of a sudden he just turns hard and puts it right between the legs. I would suggest as a goaltender, maybe if you're John Garrett, who would have figured that out in a second, but I would think that's pretty hard to defend against if you're a goaltender. John, do I got it?
No.
One of the three he didn't like. It's one of the three he didn't like.
That was one of the three I didn't like for sure because, okay, like you say, it's a wraparound. And what do you do on a wraparound? You get your pads down, stick down. If he throws it across, you hope that your defenseman is there. But you play the wraparound first because he's a left-hand shot and he's on the forehand. So you play the wraparound. And Jasper just didn't play it very well. And give Ehlers credit because he wasn't really looking at the net, kind of faked him out with the not looking at the net. But still, that's a bang off the pads. And then you try and control the rebound.
All right. Well, I'll say this. We have been exposed.
You guys are agreeing that the Pionk goal was the best one. And I picked the Pionk goal.
Don't you bully us. We will pick whatever we want, John Garrett.
I got the pick first. And this was a 5-minute segment. Oh, John, come on the Renny and Kenny show. And you only have to stay for 5 minutes, and this will be great. And then, yeah, okay.
Never coming back. Listen, it sounds like
we had
to get our money's worth, John.
We did the same thing with Bones. We got Bones on the show one time, and then he ended up on the show for it was like an hour and a half, and he was like, "How do I get out of here? Where's the door out of the studio here?" We had him trapped, just like we got you. That's
what time's last call? I just want to get out of here.
Okay, we're wrapping it up now. Unless you want to, sorry, I'm going to ask you one last.
Hang on.
Oh, lamplighter. Yes. It doesn't matter what we think. It especially doesn't matter what John thinks when he's exposing Ken's and my takes on the show like this, but matters what you think. Share with us your hashtag TCB lamplighter of the game. You're automatically entered to win a frosty, delicious 8-pack of lamplighter amber ale. If you can't wait for Kenny and Renny to gift you your frosty, delicious 8-pack, head on down to Transcanada Brewing Company. Join them in their tap room at 11290 Kenniston, where they've got lots of great beers, lots of great food, and a great atmosphere you should check out now during the holiday season. That brings us to our TCB Lamplighter winner from last game. That would be Cranley. So you know what to do, Cranley. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your name. Send me an email. I will send you a voucher for a frosty, delicious 8-pack of Lamplighter Amber Ale, brought to you by our friends at Transcanada Brewing Company. It is the nectar of the gods. Can we talk just quickly
John,
about...
next time we'll make sure there's an 8-pack waiting for you. When
yeah, really.
Not if he keeps tearing us down like this, Ken. I'll tell you.
No, that's true. That's true. I won't be invited back.
You're invited back.
News.
I wanted John to ask you about, it was 8 power play goals after tonight for Patrick Laine. I thought he would have had 3 the night he was in Winnipeg, but Connor Hellebuyck was absolutely spectacular. From a goaltender's perspective, when you look at Patrick Laine and that shot that he has off the wing there, what are you seeing when you see that shot?
It's really hard to read because he almost tees it up off his back foot. And you watch the way he follows through, and he's able to, at the last second, turn his wrist. And you think he's going to go far side, and then all of a sudden it's a short side, and he gets all of it. A big guy, and he's really strong, but it's really hard to read. And he's great. He never has to stop it. And that's one of the things is no matter where the pass is, he gets his feet lined up so that he never has to stop it. And no matter who the goalie is, you come across, you know he's there. It's like Ovechkin. You know he's there, and you hope it hits you, or you hope it doesn't hit you, depending on the old equipment. I was hoping it didn't hit me, but now with the new equipment, the guys are probably hoping, well, I hope he hits me.
Yeah.
And last one too, John. I just want to ask you a quick one about defense, because you watch Quinn Hughes kind of add layers to his game. Again, everyone said he was an offensive only guy. Then he comes back and, wins the Norris, right? So yes. You've seen Josh Norris or Morrissey now the last couple of years. What's been like to watch his progression into one of the best defensemen in the NHL?
Well, and I really think that no matter who he plays with, he makes them that much better. And, you think Neil Pionk and how well he's played. And you think of the guys, Fleury and everybody that plays with Morrissey gets better. And he's so calm, and he reads the play so well, and he skates so well. And that's why he can play the minutes that he plays, is because he's such a great natural skater. And, is he big and bulky? No, but he plays bigger than he is. And I think that's the thing with Morrissey is he's a guy that you can rely on to do almost everything. And he is just one of the best skaters in the league.
Okay, I gotta say this last one before we go here, but John had said it's like a month ago we'd booked this appearance, him coming on the Kenny and Renny show, and I have to say, boy oh boy, did it pay off in spades having you on. Ken and I have never been challenged by a guest the way we were tonight here, and I think the audience loved every minute of it, as did myself and Ken. It really paid off, and if you're looking to pay off high interest credit cards or debt, we suggest that you go talk to our friends at Cambrian Credit Union about their payoff loan. They can show you how taking out a loan to pay off your debt actually gets you debt-free faster, and you can save thousands of dollars. Go to cambrian.mb.ca to book an appointment online. Time for us to wrap this up. I just wanted to say this. John, got to work with you for the first time last year because you were dedicated to the Canucks crew, and more times this year. We don't have really our schedule for the upcoming year. I just wanted to say it's been a blast doing games with you. You know how to have fun on a broadcast. You know how to bring levity to a broadcast. And yet at the same time, when we do hit you with the technical stuff, you always bring in stuff that most other guys don't see. So for me, I just wanted to say, I think that you and I will have broadcasts together going forward, but I want to publicly acknowledge what a treat and what an honor it has been for me to have been able to work with you on camera, on the broadcast, and I just love that we were able to bring it into the show here today.
Well, thank you very much. And my expected interruptions was 20, and I think I increased that. I probably the number one expected interruptions in the league.
Yeah, I think you hit 42 today. So
Yes,
the
42.
the expected did not come anywhere near it. So you're right. BS stat. That's a BS stat, John. Ken, anything to say before we go?
No, always great to have John here, and thanks for the insight and the time. It's people don't always believe us when we tell them, but we hope that when we bring people like you on and support some of our theories, that it certainly is helpful for us. So thanks for being with us. Travel smoothly. All the best to your family during the Christmas season here. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And enjoy Toronto. I know
Yeah.
it'll be a zoo. It always is.
Right on. And thanks for everyone for joining us. And as we always say, thank you for watching, but also thank you to our sponsors, and please support them when you can. Those great sponsors are Cambrian Credit Union, The Keg, Lou Furl, and we will talk to you on Monday. Good night, everyone. Have a great weekend.